OK, bonjour tout le monde. Bienvenue maintenant au cours de carrière. Um, il nous reste 2 semaines avant la fin du cours. On a jusqu'au, je crois, c'est le 25 juillet. Le cours de carrière est intéressant parce que c'est un cours à propos de vous. Le cours de civisme est peut-être un peu sec, c'est des choses peut-être que tout le monde ne s'intéresse pas, mais le cours de carrière normalement intéresse les élèves parce que c'est à propos d'eux. Welcome to careers. Most students tend to, I think, prefer the careers course to the civics course because you get to it's all about you. So it's always kind of interesting. The point of the careers course is to kind of give you a chance to start thinking about what your life will look like after high school. Okay, so generally this course is in grade 10, but I know some of you are just coming out of grade 8 or grade 9. And graduation from high school seems like a far kind of distant event, but it's not. It kind of comes quickly, and you've got to start making some choices to kind of help you with what's next, right? And part of it can seem kind of daunting because at whatever 13, 14, 15, trying to figure out what are you going to do with the rest of your life is challenging, right? But it's important to kind of start thinking about that and start having a plan. It's also important to understand that even though you have a plan, sometimes things happen and you have to change your plan. So for example, my own kind of story, I've been teaching now for about 22 years, but before that, growing up, I wanted to be an astronaut. That is kind of what I wanted since I was a little kid. I wanted to be an astronaut. And so my plan was, I did well in high school, in school, I was good in math and science. And so to be an astronaut, I looked at kind of Canadian astronauts at the time, and they were generally engineers, scientists, and they were in the Air Force. So after I graduated, I was accepted to the military college, Royal Military College of Kingston in Kingston. So I went there. I was in the Air Force, and I was going to be in the military, and then I was going to try and work my way into the space program. Turns out that while I was good at math and science in high school, I didn't love it enough to actually do the homework once I got to university, and so I flunked out. Turns out that maybe I didn't know myself as well as I thought, so I went kind of back home, worked at some kind of crappy jobs for 6 months, and then realized that that was not something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And so I enrolled at my local university here at Nipissing, really started to kind of look back at kind of what it was that I loved doing when I was younger, kind of even kind of at that point in my life. And I loved history, I loved reading, I loved school. So I enrolled in Teachers College. I did a double major in history and philosophy with religious studies, so kind of a whole 180, but looking back at kind of what were the things that kind of I did in my spare time, it was reading those kind of history books that kind of were based on what happened in the past, thinking about kind of things like that. And so I kind of fell into teaching, and it's kind of been the right choice for me. So the whole kind of story is that yes, you should have a plan, but understand that sometimes that plan changes, and that it's really, really important to kind of think about what it is that you love to do and how can you kind of make that into your career. Okay, so again, kind of long-winded story, but just I know a lot of students in the French immersion are very kind of detail oriented, and they have their plan and they kind of stick to it. But sometimes you need to realize that kind of life will tell you what the plan is, and you need to be kind of open to that. Okay, so le cours de carrière va avoir quelques parties. So on va regarder un peu l'idée de la littératie financière. So we're going to look at financial literacy. So une fois que vous vivez par vous-même ou même avant de commencer, il est important de comprendre le rôle que l'argent et la finance jouent dans votre vie. Okay, so understanding kind of the idea of money, how to be responsible with money, starting to save, those are things that you can kind of even start doing now, start developing those habits. So that way, when you are living on your own, you have good kind of financial habits, because that is important. On va passer du temps, il va y avoir une leçon où vous allez prendre des quiz de personnalité pour vous aider à vous connaître. So there's one lesson where it's a whole bunch of personality quizzes, things to kind of start, again, thinking about yourself and what's important to you. Ensuite, le projet pour cette semaine que je vais introduire demain a à faire avec la littératie financière. Vous allez remplir une application pour un programme gouvernemental appelé Entreprise d'été. Et so, c'est un programme où le gouvernement de l'Ontario paye des individus, des jeunes individus, pour commencer leur propre compagnie. Okay, so kind of our big project for this week will be filling out an application for what's called the Summer Company Program, which is a Government of Ontario program that pays Ontario students to start their own kind of small business. So obviously you don't have to submit that, but you will go through the process of thinking about that. And I've had students who have, before taking this class, had participated in the program, and I've had students who, after taking the class and going through this exercise, have applied for the program. And it's kind of an interesting program and opportunity. Ensuite, la semaine prochaine, ceci est probablement la meilleure chose que vous allez recevoir de ce cours, est que vous allez écrire un CV, vous allez écrire une lettre de présentation et vous allez vous préparer pour des entrevues. Et ensuite, le projet, l'activité cumulative est une recherche de 2 carrières. Okay, so next week, you're going to write a resume. Again, so that is something tangible that you will be able to use once you go to apply for a job. If you already have a resume, that's fantastic. All you need to do is you need to update it. I don't expect you to rewrite your resume. If you already have one, you can just submit it to me. I'll want one in French and in English. Then you'll do the same thing with a cover letter. Then you'll prep for interviews. And then the culminating activity is a research project on 2 potential careers for you. And that kind of, that kind of stuff. So encore, on a 9 journées ensemble et ça va aller assez rapidement. Faites référence encore au calendrier que j'ai affiché la semaine dernière, ou il y a 2 semaines. So again, to make sure you kind of know what assignments are being marked, have a look at that calendar. So I think that's it for now. So we will get started with the lesson. Okay, so comme j'ai mentionné, on va regarder la littératie financière et l'idée de l'entrepreneuriat. So one option, and something that is kind of a major part of Canada's economy, are small businesses. So les petites entreprises sont des entreprises qui jouent un rôle très important dans l'économie du Canada, dans l'économie de chacune de vos communautés. Et c'est probablement quelque chose que vous avez de l'expérience, soit dans votre famille ou des amis de votre famille. Okay, so small businesses are generally businesses that are owned by individuals. They employ, between maybe 5 and 10 individuals. And they play a really important role in Canadian economy, in your local economy. A lot of you probably have family members that own their own businesses. Maybe it's a plumbing business. Maybe it's a landscaping business. There are all sorts of different things where people work for themselves. And that is something that is definitely a possibility for you as an individual. Okay, so vous allez compléter l'activité d'introduction suivante. est-ce que vous êtes pour ou contre les phrases suivantes et plus important, pourquoi? Okay, so there'll be a statement and you have to tell me, do you agree with that statement or are you against that statement, and then why? So un entrepreneur doit avoir au moins 20 ans pour avoir du succès. So an entrepreneur has to be at least 20 years old to be successful. Is that something you agree with? Yes or no, and then why? Okay, so si c'est quelque chose que vous êtes contre, vous pouvez écrire votre explication pourquoi dans la boîte sous le mot contre. Un entrepreneur doit connaître son marché avant de commencer. Pourquoi? Et faites certain de soutenir votre opinion avec un exemple. So does an entrepreneur need to understand their market before beginning? Why? And then make sure you provide an example for your opinion. Selon vous, qui est l'entrepreneur le plus important de notre époque? Essayez de choisir une personne non typique ou moins connue. So who do you think is maybe the most important entrepreneur of kind of our day today, right? And so I'm asking you to maybe choose somebody who's kind of non-typical or less well-known. So maybe not Steve Jobs from Apple or somebody like that, right? Maybe somebody kind of lesser known. Ensuite, il y a un lien pour la bande dessinée ici. So, l'autre lien de Guardians of the Galaxy. Vous allez lire l'histoire et vous allez remplir le tableau ci-dessous. Okay, so there is a comic strip to go with this. I don't think this link works, but the link on the LMS newsfeed does. So, vous allez noter bien 3 choses que vous avez appris. So, ici, à côté du numéro 3. So, while reading the comic strip, what are 3 things that you've learned? And the comic strip is about personal finances, so saving money. Quelles sont 2 choses que vous avez aimées? Et une chose que vous voulez savoir plus à propos. What's one thing you'd like to know more about? OK. Ici, je vais vous donner un autre lien qui est plus à date. So, ceci regarde un peu au programme d'entreprise d'été. So this looks at the experiences of people who have participated in the summer company assignment or project. And so I will give you an updated link. This is from 2016. There are more recent links, but basically you're going to kind of choose 2 of these young entrepreneurs. Whoops, sorry. You're going to choose 2 of the young entrepreneurs and you're going to answer kind of these questions about them. Okay. And then comment est-ce que les publicités ont changé depuis des années? So you're going to look at kind of advertising and you're going to kind of tell me how did they change over time. So il y a une publicité ancienne, so there's an older ad and then there's something that's newer on the same product. Encore ici, vous allez remplir le tableau pour chaque produit. Okay. Et ensuite, j'aimerais que vous trouviez un exemple d'un produit qui a subi un grand changement au niveau de publicité. So then I want you to find your own product and kind of give me an example of an older advertisement and a more current advertisement. Okay, so that is that. So voici ici le lien à la bande dessinée. Et voici votre Dropbox. OK, so aussi un appel, s'il vous plaît, n'oubliez pas de me remettre vos projets du cours de civisme aussitôt que vous le pouvez. OK, so I do have to start kind of preparing report cards for the civics course. I can still take assignments into this week, but the sooner you can kind of get those done and off of your plate, the sooner that you can kind of focus on the careers portion of the course. OK, on va avoir une autre rencontre demain. Et ensuite, je crois qu'encore jeudi et vendredi de cette semaine vont être des journées de travail pour compléter votre projet d'entreprise d'été. Okay, so I will post a link to the summer company participants from the most recent year, and I'll have that posted on the LMS. I will also put up a kind of a schedule for the next 2 weeks so that you know what days we'll have lessons and what days we will have as work days. Okay. So merci beaucoup. Si vous avez des questions encore, n'hésitez pas à m'envoyer un courriel. OK, merci tout le monde.